What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. In today's video, we're going to be learning how you could find current fair market value for your comic books using coverprice.com. I do believe coverprice.com is a solid resource for any type of collector or investor or reseller or dealer, short-term flipper, whatever the case may be. We're going to look at how you can navigate the website and really get savvy to understand current value. So right here we have coverprice.com, and I'm going to basically walk you through it all step by step. Before we get into the video though, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the awesome links in the description below as well. And I want to remind you all that we are running our road to 10,000 subscriber contest. I'm releasing random videos where I'm giving away specific prizes in each of those videos. So I highly recommend that you subscribe, click the notification bell, and check out all of my recent videos to learn how you can have an opportunity to win multiple prizes, folks. So we're going to start here and start out with the basics. Logging in, right? Of course, if you don't have a CoverPrice account, you would want to create one. You can create one for free, and then there's two tiers. There's a tier that I believe is still $2.95 a month, and you get most of the access to the information that you're going to see today with that $2.95 monthly a tier membership. But there's also a $6.95 membership, and I'll tell you about the extra perks that you get for that. But let's go ahead and log in. And of course, I got my information here already set. And here we go. So we go to the main page here. Cover prices is very easy to navigate if you ask me. I mean, they have their top banner here, weekly news, weekly reports, and so forth. You are always going to see this search title near the top of each page. You can also go up here to this, and it brings up the same search title right here. It's got lots of fun, different trends, top hot comics, top key comics, rare finds, and etc. It's got the weekly top 10. My partner Jeff and I, we do this every week, of course, exploring the top 10 hottest selling books, movers, and so forth, shakers. We're not going to pay any attention to any of that right now. What we're going to do is we're going to utilize the search engine, because remember, this is going to be about how we can gauge individual fair market values for our comic books. All right. So say I'm in the market to buy. We're going to look at that aspect first, and then we'll go into looking at it from a seller's perspective. Okay. But say there's a book that I want to buy, and I want to know what a good price to pay for that is. So let's say there is an X-Men number 4 from the 1991 series, the first appearance of Omega Red. Say that there's a 9.6 CGC on the market that I have my eyes on. Well, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at X-Men number 4. We're going to put that in the search engine here. We're going to see everything that comes up. You got 41 regular series, and you got annuals and so forth, but we already see it right here. This is the one that we're looking for. So we're going to click on it. It gives you the image. It gives you, market information. It's a key comic. Why? It's the first appearance of Omega Red. It gives you some bulletin points, last recorded sales value, $75 and a 9.6. Well, look at that right there. We're already getting information towards what we are looking for. We're looking at this book in a 9.6. You can see a current trend in this grade dropped just a very small amount, 0.5%. It's got graded fair market value, averages, raw averages, and so forth. It talks about the variants that are out there. And then down here, we go into more market info. And this is what I really like to dive into. It gives highest known value was a 9.8 sale for $499.99 on April 2nd, 2021. What was happening then? Falcon and Winter Soldier. What was all the speculation? Oh, Omega Red's going to show up in Falcon and Winter Soldier. Remember that? So I'm sure that had something to do with this record high 9.8 sale. So you can gauge those factors. But if you look at right here from the left to the right, you got graded comic sales and raw comic sales. So what we want to pay attention to, because again, we're looking at a CGC 9.6. We want to look at right here. It has each grade values. Now, I always say don't pay too much attention to this fair market value right here, Because what you have in this range is basically all of the sales over the last X amount of years. And cover price is pretty good with going back. I've seen them go back as far back as like 2013 on some of them. I think a lot of them probably expect to go back 2015, 2016. But this average can be taken from that. So the average can be a little skewed. But what you can do here, if you look at the 9.6, the highest sale that they have in their database is $225 with the lowest 22. So and it's out of 250 books sold. So we're going to click that 250. And what is it going to do? It's going to bring us to every single 9.6 sold. We can look at the most recent 9.6 sold, and that was that $75 one, which happened today. Yesterday, one sold for $85. Then you go back a couple weeks, one sold for $99, $81, $71. So this is what I'm going to look to right now. This book is a little bit all over the place over the last month and a half. Now, if you start going back to the end of last year, you know, this book was easily hitting over $100 for most of the sales. You know, 99, 102, you got an 88 right here, but most of them are hitting over $100. So it would be fair to assess that even with a couple lows coming in below 80, it'd be fair to assess if you did an average and you calculated the average, $100 would be probably a solid fair market value for this book. But over the last month and a half, you could definitely see a downward trend. You know, the last sale that hit over $100 was on New Year's Eve. And then one didn't sell for, 5 more days, and it came in at 87. And then you see what's going on here. So I think it is absolutely fair to assess that anywhere from $75 to about $90 or so. I mean, you did have a $99.99 here just over 2 weeks ago. But for me, I probably wouldn't pay $100 for this book right now. I would really look at more of an average of all these. And if somebody was asking, say, $100, say they were asking $100, I would come at them with an offer of, say, $80. Could you do $80? They might come back and say, I could do 90. And then you might come back and say, how about 85? And then you're like, deal. Or they might sit and say, I'm good at 90. And then you have to just gauge that $90 is a solid value that you're willing to pay. Because you got to look at the averages here. At $90, you're still roughly close to the average, the current recent average. So it's not like I think you're dumping a bunch of money out. Now, what do I think of the future value of this book? This is what you always have to keep in mind if you're in the market for a book. And this is why I tell you to do your due diligence, stay educated on the market and everything that's going on. And here are my thoughts. This book is a solid book. You know, it's a late Copper Age, early 90s book. I do believe that this book has staying power for the long term. You know, it's not like there's a rare print run out there, and that they're so hard to find. But I do believe the book was beefed up. Some people like to use the term ballooned up because of some false speculation. And when I say false, I mean, well, they speculated on something that ended up not panning out and wasn't true. This character did not show up in the Falcon and Winter Soldier show. They were even saying that he might show up in the Black Widow film. That didn't happen. So, of course, people got turned away. People started taking their money out of it, and you could see the price drop a little bit. But let's go back. This is another thing that you could gauge. Let's go back just a few years ago. Let's go back to even during the beginning of the pandemic here in like the summer of 2020. This book was still at a lower fair market value than where it's currently sitting for the most part. I mean, look, in April and May here, you got a couple that hit 70, 55, 70, 65, 40, 58. Again, a little bit all over the place, but, you probably have an average that's sitting around 60 something dollars. So this book has set new floors, and I think if I was in the market for it, I could definitely be comfortable with probably paying around that $90 mark. If I get it under the $90 mark, I think I'm getting a good deal. If I get it a little over the $90 mark, then, maybe it's not such a good deal, but I'm not breaking my bank still. If I get it over the $100 mark, I might be overpaying at the current moment. That's one way to gauge a book, especially if it is a graded book next to a raw book. Now, let's talk about raw books, folks. You can see right here, you could change over to the raw tab, but I'm going to go back to our main page here, and you could get there this way as well. Remember where we have the graded data here, the raw data here. Let's go click the see sales data for raw comics, but we're going to first look at most recent raw average is sitting at $41 and change. Recent high sales, so keep in mind this is a book that came out in early 1992. Publication date, it might have came out actually onto the stands in late, 3 months prior, so late 91. So you got some high sales, so they're most likely going to be probably near mint copies, as close to near mint as you can in the raw grades. And then you got some much cheaper. So this is a huge gap though. So that's poses a little bit of a question mark. But we're going to go on to see all sales data. So if you look at recent comic books sold in February, you can see a range of values here. Now, if there is a grade right here, that's an estimated, most likely, right? Because they are raw books. So we got $60, $40, $15, $35, $10, $24, $22, and so forth. So what I'm seeing is the higher values are probably higher grade books. The lower values are probably lower grade books. You can see what this book has been trending as in a raw copy. And, it's really not done much of a difference, at least over the last few months. I think you're seeing a lot more lower numbers in December, but still in the same range, but just not hitting as many highs as you saw in December. So, which is interesting because that's kind of a different trend than what we saw for the graded books. You are seeing more raw books kind of go for a higher premium next to their graded counterparts. So that could just mean that there's more higher grades on the market. Maybe they're newsstands, right? Maybe these ones that are crossing over the $100 mark, those could be very high grade newsstands because it's the early 90s. Those newsstands, in the minds of many collectors are going to go for an even more premium, right? Now, another thing that I like about cover price is to gauge, especially even more with raw books. We're going to go back to the main page for the book here. And if you go up right here, it has links to both eBay and My Comic Shop. And you can see what they're selling these books for as well. So if you go to My Comic Shop, we can see it goes right to it. X-Men 4. Here we go. So we can see, look, we got a 9.6 selling for $90. So what was I saying about kind of a fair market value? That's sitting kind of right there, right? You got raw books here. So you got a raw book estimated at an 8.5 for 65, down to a 6.0 for 40. So you can see the gray range. One good thing about My Comic Shop too is that you can actually view scans. Now, I know we're talking about cover price, but since it takes you to My Comic Shop, let me tell you a little something about My Comic Shop. Anything in the yellow are consignment books, and usually they're going to be a bit overpriced. Let's look at a 9.6. Is there a 9.6 on consignment? They're all 9.8s. Do we got a 9.6? Here we go. Well, look at this, $115, $100. So it's like, why would I pay $115 when I could pay $90? White pages? I mean, what's the deal, right? So I stay away from the consignment books for the most part on mycomicshop.com. But if they're in My Comic Shop inventory, all good. So let's go back here. Also, we could click eBay, and it'll bring you right to X-Men 4 in the search bar, and you can see what they're going for on eBay. And again, if you're using eBay, don't take the eBay's grade for it. Click on the pictures. This one's selling for $35. Buy it now. Click the picture, check the grade. And then another thing that you can do is you could go down to sold items and click that here, right? Now remember, if you were looking at cover price, remember when we were looking at the raw data and we were like, man, in January, some of these high dollar sales kind of boosted up, like right here, a couple of $105 sales. Well, maybe, let's see, it's sold on 1/8 and 1/13. So what we can do is we can keep our search engine that ended recently. We could go back to January. 113, and we can see if that was actually a sale on eBay. All right, January 13th. Let's see if we can find. Here it is. Okay, see, check this out. It looks like, see, and this is why I always say, what do I tell you all when you're looking for fair market value? And why I caution anybody with the platform to be very careful about misinterpreting data and looking at outliers. This $105 sale on 113 might actually be a graded book because this is an 8.0, it looks like, that sold for $105 on January 13th. And it looks like the data on cover price could have just been calculated in wrong. And I believe the reason why is because, look, there's no CGC 8.0 in the description, so it probably got pulled in by the algorithms as a raw book. So if you're in the market for a raw book and you're saying, well, the high sold for 105, that must means I should pay $100 for a high grade raw. Nope. And that's why you always do your due diligence. Let's look at this other one here, January 10th, for the same price, 105. Let's look. All right. Okay, January 10th. Here it is again. Now, here's the interesting thing. This is the same book. This is the exact same book, same seller. So I don't know if somebody didn't, they bid. There was a bid. They won, and they didn't pay, or there's something else going on. But guess what? That's not it, because look, January 8th, another $105. Let's find this one and see if it's on eBay. All right, and here we are again, folks, the same book. So this is problematic in and of itself. I don't know what's going on with this eBay seller, but this looks to be another, look at this, seller, zero feedback, something's going on with this book. This is very scammy. But so what I would do if I was you guys and I was using cover price, you could reach out to them and let them know that this is an error. So, but what's the moral of the story here, folks? Be aware of outliers and always do your due diligence. So what does that mean? That means that, well, take those out, and the book was basically now trending a little bit downward than it was in December. So you see, you put things in context because you got suggested high grades here, because these are raw. Suggested 9.4 selling for 55. You got a couple 55s over here. So again, do your homework. For me right now, I probably wouldn't pay, you had a $63 sale right here recently. I probably wouldn't pay higher than in the 50s, around $50 for this book. But unless, it was immaculate and you really thought it was a 9.8 candidate, then I don't know, you might be willing to dish a little more out. But it's tough because remember, for what the 9.6 is selling for right now, $90. I mean, I'd rather spend $30 more than this person did, or even less than $30, and buy a 9.6, especially if I can look at the pictures and say, oh, this is a 9.6 that doesn't have any visible color breaks or anything like that. Maybe I can crack it, press and clean it, and send it in to get it, maybe get a 9.8, right? So those are some key ways on how to gauge the value of graded books and raw books, folks. Now, if you're a seller, this is what I do as well. I do the same thing, obviously. I come on, if I'm selling, actually, let's just do another book just for, let's do Amazing Spider-Man. Let's do just some random book, right? 206. And say, I'm going to pull that up here, and say I have a raw grade copy, and, I have it graded at a very fine plus 8.5. Right, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to see, okay, is anybody grading it? Oh yeah, there's actually, 9.8s. This is a Bronze Age, 40-cent Bronze Age Amazing Spider-Man book. So there's some high grades being graded, but not much. And I could come over here and I could say, oh, average raw around 11. You got some high grades, 16, 14 and change. But what I like to do, because I always, and I say this if you guys watch my Whatnot sales, I like to go to mycomicshop.com, and if I got my book at an 8.5, so I'm going to look at this and say, well, there's no 8.5 here, but what there is a 7.5 very fine minus for $12. Now, this is very interesting. I see this once in a while, but hardly ever. Look at this. A fine, very fine 7.0 is selling for 14. That's very interesting instead of 12. So what I might do is, because I like to always price my books below my comic shop. So say I had my book graded at a 7.5. I put it at like $11. I make sure that it was cheaper than what you could find on mycomicshop.com. At an 8.5, I might sell it for 13. I might even match their 7.5 and sell it for 12. So that's what I do. That's just another tool that I do if I am actually selling comic books. So folks, again, very, very easy to navigate. You got your search engine bar. You could put in any book, search the book, check out graded data, raw data, see how they're trending on the market or not. It could direct you right to eBay and My Comic Shop. You can see what's going on right now, what's listed. You can see recent sold, and you can even compare those recent sold to the actual sales data that they have here. And you can even look for outliers and errors in the data as well, like we did with that $105 X-Men for sale. So that's basically the bulk of our main talking point of the video today, how to gauge current fair market value for this book. But why we're here, I want to let you all know the perks that you can get with Cover Price. So everything that I did right here, you get with the $295 monthly membership. But you also get, and if I go to my collection, I'm going to show you guys for the $695. This is really cool. Now, I don't use Cover Price to house my entire collection. I do use a CLZ app for that. I stand behind it. I love it. But I do put a lot of my keys in here, because the really cool thing about Cover Price and how they look at books in your collection, they give you an estimated value of what's in your collection, and you can see what's going on the market for your keys. So like right now, one of my books in here is a hot book, and it's Amazing Spider-Man number 40, and you can see that it's trending upward right now. Recent sales had an increase of, what did I say, 56% right there for the last recorded sale. So, you know, a lot of good things there. But as well as you guys saw when we first went into the website in the beginning of the video, it has a lot of awesome things like the weekly top 10, as well as top hot comics, top key comics. So we could go to top hot comics and we can see what's trending, what is trending hot right now. And you could see, and it tells you why they're hot. Recent sales have this at an increase of 189%. Most of us know why. Superior Iron Man is booming right now with the increase of over 200%, which is just crazy. So it's really, really an in-depth way to look at comic books and what they are doing currently and in the past on the market. So that's why I absolutely love Cover Price. At the end of the day, folks, even when using Cover Price, I'm using more than one source to gauge value for comics. And I always tell you all to never just use one source. I use Cover Price. I use eBay Sold. I use My Comic Shop. I use Mercari and Mercari Sold. I even still use Go Collect, and I'll see what they're doing. And of course, GPA as well. But my Cover Price is a really awesome, helpful tool for all kind of collectors out there. So I definitely suggest you guys utilizing them to a certain extent. And they are not paying me to say this, folks. This is just me trying to give you guys some tools that you can use. I'm not sponsored by Cover Price. They're not paying me to say this or telling me to go sign you guys up for a membership. I'm just telling you what I use and what I think can be beneficial to all of you as collectors or sellers out there. So that's the video for today, everyone. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments below. Please, if you have any other questions too regarding finding fair market values or looking at data or even using Cover Price, let me know in the comments as well. Again, keep a lookout for my upcoming videos where I'll be giving away all kind of prizes, including CGC slabs, EGS slabs, and gift certificates to My Comic Shop and A1 Comics. So make sure you're subscribed, click the notification bell, and I'll see you guys next time.